Welcome to Suburban Warrior, the podcast that will impact, inspire, and empower you to transform your mindset and become the badass warrior that you are. I'm your host and fellow warrior, Crissy Piper, former clinician and corporate marketing exec turned multi-passionate entrepreneur, performance and life coach, and mom to 4 not-so-little warriors. Each week, I will bring you honest conversations with inspiring guests to share their stories of resilience, optimism, success, and simple yet effective strategies so that you transform your thoughts and change your behavior to get the results you want in your life. You will be empowered to take action, warrior up, and believe in you. Let's do this. Hey, warriors. I am so happy to have you back again for this week for another episode of Suburban Warrior. I can promise you that after you hear today's guest, you will feel more energized, more connected to those around you, more love in your life, and ready to express yourself in new ways. I am so excited about this week's episode. Our Suburban Warrior that's joining us today is Corrin Madden, founder of Little Love Jar. Corrin Madden is passionate about living a fun, healthy, meaningful life, spending time with her children, friends, and family, and doing good in the world. She created Little Love Jar as a way to celebrate others and harness the incredible power of love. She feels extremely fortunate to be in a position where she gets to see the best of humanity through the work that she does. Little Love Jar is a reminder that love not only exists, but is a huge and powerful force in the world. Oh my gosh, Corrin, we're going to have so much fun today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I am so excited to dive in to Little Love Jar, which is your company, and also hear more about you because in the short time that we've known each other, when we have spoken, it is just amazing how very similar our missions are. And, you know, the more and more that I talk to you, the more and more connected I feel to you. And I know my listeners will feel the same way. So welcome. I'm excited.
Same. Thank you so much. I felt the exact same way. The first time we had a conversation, reading more about you, I thought, wow, we really have similar missions.
Yeah, similar missions and really just executing them in a different way, which is so exciting because there's so many ways to spread love and spread joy and spread connection. So let's dive right in and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started Little Love Jar.
Sure. So I grew up in Wyoming. I am the middle of 5 kids, came from a really close family. I'm still very close with all my friends I grew up with. It's this amazing phenomenon. We call ourselves the posse, and I mean, my best friend from 2nd grade is still my BFF to this day. So relationships, connection have always been like core to who I am.
Yes.
And I went to grad school in San Diego, and then 12 years ago, we moved out to Philadelphia for my ex-husband's medical training. I have 3 kids, 2 dogs. And yeah, 4 years ago, actually, I was really trying to find my place. You know, life did not turn out as I thought it was going to. And I was so intentionally praying to figure out where I belonged and how I could, utilize my gifts and just plug into the world. And, I had been making love jars just as gifts for friends and families for many years. The first jar I made was for a close friend who was in a tragic accident. And we invited probably 50 people on an email chain. I asked them to contribute, messages of inspiration and humor and memories while he was in recovery, and, made my first healing jar. And it was amazing. I felt like so many people were in the same position that I was, sitting at home, loving and caring and worrying about, our friend. And we had to do something with that, And so made my first healing jar then, started making jars for family and friends. And 4 years ago, decided to turn it into a business.
Yes, it's so interesting, right? Because you basically describe that feeling that so many of us have when something happens in life. It's like this helpless feeling when you hear about someone that you love or someone that you care about, or just really even someone in your community that you're connected to. When you hear something that happens to them or someone that they love, everybody just wants to help, right? Everyone
Yeah.
wants to reach out. They want to do something, but yet we all feel so helpless in so many ways. There's, and then there's that feeling of, oh, I don't want to impose. I don't want to send them a text. I don't want to send them an email. A phone call is way too intrusive. So there's like so many
Totally.
ways that we like want to help and reach out that they're just not really viable options. So I love that you thought about doing this small little action that is so simple to just send an email to 50 people and say, hey, can you send me, something, a memory, something that you love about this person, whatever it may be. And then you decided to compile them all together and give it to that person. I mean, what a gift that is, but yet such a simple gift, right?
Absolutely. It's funny. What you just described is this feeling I felt so often, which is, what can we do?
Yeah.
We got to do something. And that feeling, like you said, of helplessness, it's my least favorite feeling ever. Like, we want to rally and we want to put into action all the love and the concern we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you found a way to do that. That was so meaningful. So let me ask you this. So then you took that idea, which I love, and you decided, okay, what was it that was going on in your life that made you decide to really take this and create a company around it? Because like you said, you were at a place in your life where maybe you never thought you would find yourself, or maybe you felt lost and you were looking for more purpose in your life. So can you describe a little bit about that situation?
Yes, for sure. So I've been living in Narberth, just outside of Philly, for 12 years. All my family and my close friends are out west. And so to go through a divorce, I felt like I was on an island. It was extremely difficult. And I actually went to school for Chinese medicine. But we really put a lot of energy into getting my ex-husband's medical career going. And so my career was really on the back burner. And I hadn't practiced much at all. So I didn't even feel like that was an option for me. And having this feeling like, I know I have something to give. I know I've always known that my heart is my gift, and that loving and caring for people is my, inherent gift. But I never could really wrap my head around how that would translate into a profession. And so really, I was just feeling frustrated and, a little bit empty. Like, I knew I had a purpose, but it wasn't a cookie cutter. I couldn't just go apply for a job and say, listen, I'm really loving and I can take care of people really well and hire me,
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, the response for every single person I had given a love jar to was extremely profound. Everyone would say, I keep it by my nightstand. I have it on my mantle. I go to it. I went to my love jar. I can't even tell you how many times throughout my divorce, I would just dump the whole thing on my bed and just remind myself. I couldn't see it at that time. I would forget some of like my great qualities, and I needed to go there and remember myself. And I had a lot of feedback from friends and family saying the same thing. So I knew there was something important about that. And I'm telling you, it was an intention and a prayer that I had for years to figure it out and find my purpose. And I feel like it was just like this spark. This is what you're supposed to be doing now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I so believe in those sparks. So, and I think those sparks come to so many of us all the time, right? And, whether they're sparks, intuition, you get a download from the universe, whatever you want to call it. I
Right.
so believe in that. But I do think a lot of us, including myself, tend to ignore them sometimes, right? And so, 4 years ago, when you're going through this really tough time in your life, and then you're getting the spark, you're getting the idea, when you were ready to start this company, did you doubt yourself? Did you feel like, okay, wait, this is actually, such a simple idea. Is it so simple that it's silly? Like all of this, like self-talk or things that you could say to yourself that might cause doubt and stop you from moving forward with your idea and your company?
Well, actually, not at the beginning. To tell you the truth, starting it just seemed to fall into place. I knew this was my gift. It was my strength. However, it's been throughout where the doubt has creeped in for me.
Okay.
Because the more it turns out, making a couple jars for friends and family, it is extremely simple. Doing it as a business, it actually turns out that it's very high tech, and I am not a technical person, nor am I a business person. So that has been when I'm, trying to troubleshoot and find answers that I have no idea. And every once in a while I'll say, I'm not a business person. I'm not a tech person. What am I doing?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I totally know. Yeah. So, and that's interesting, but I have to applaud you for always continuing on and looking for the answers, because I know, having my own business, and I know I always doubt myself, doubt what I'm doing, doubt my ideas. When I have these great ideas, I'm like, oh my gosh, should I move forward with this? And then, as you move forward, the doubt seeps in. But I do think that is just, that's just our ego coming in and saying, don't do this, or trying to scare us away. When I think, if we can learn to sort of shut that down and quiet that negative self-talk, is when we really find, the amazingness in what we're doing. So,
Agree.
so this little love jar, it's a little thing, but it's a big deal. So, explain to our listeners what it is exactly.
Okay, so it is a tangible jar filled with personalized messages from everyone that loves and adores you.
Okay.
Could be messages of inspiration. A lot of times it's memories. It's just pretty much a celebration of the core of who the person is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's a gift that you buy for someone else.
Yes.
I've tried and I've thought about doing a self-love jar. It's just a little trickier to execute that. But the way it works is, let's say you were purchasing a jar for one of your children.
Yes.
You come to the site, you purchase a jar, and then you get a private link that you would send to, let's say it's your daughter, all her friends, family, teachers, any coworkers. And so they come to our site to write messages to her directly. And then we print, cut, and stuff the messages into a jar and ship it to her doorstep.
That is just so amazing to think that all of those little tiny words and all of those expressions that come from other people, how much they can impact one person. So can you give us an example? Because I know you probably have so many of how, little love jars have made such an impact on some of your customers.
For sure. Yes, that's definitely my favorite part of all of this. So we've had, lots of celebration jars. A really sweet jar we did for a 10-year-old little girl. Her parents, they decided they wanted to give her a little love jar instead of a material gift. And they actually videotaped her, and she read a message that her parents had written from her horse. And she just started crying. It was for whatever reason, that message from her horse just like really stirred her up. So anyway, that was such a sweet experience. And we've had a lot of really heartbreaking, but also inspiring, jars given. One that comes to my mind is a family who, it was a family of 4, and the father was in his last stage of cancer. And so we created a jar for the entire family. And it was chock full for every single person. Some messages were directly to the mom. It was just a full jar for the whole family. And they did a little ritual every single night where they would each choose 4 messages. and read the 4 messages out loud.
Aww.
And so that was beautiful. And he ended up passing away. And then the following Father's Day, the mom ordered another jar, and it was stories of their dad, so that they could remember and know him in a way that they would never have known.
Yeah.
And that was, we had to do like actually an extra big jar because people just took time to really write long stories about their father.
Wow. That's really special. And so there's 2 things. One, the first, when you were talking about the 10-year-old and you were saying that they didn't want to give her a material gift. I know on your website, it says, most of us don't need more stuff, but we could all use more love. And, when I read that, I was like, wow, is that just not like totally it? Right? Like that little sentence right there is like everything, right? Like we don't need more stuff, but more connection, more love, more expression of joy and, how much we care for each other. And again, that, my whole goal and mission behind Suburban Warrior, created before quarantine and before the pandemic was to just create connection with women and, help to empower them and hear each other's stories. And here, this is just another way to really create that connection and that belonging to express. I mean, it's just not very often that people take the time to sit down and really think about someone else and then actually write it down and then actually give it to that person. Like, how amazing is that? Just that simple act it's just awesome. I mean, it's just incredible. I just love it so much because we don't do it. We don't, but you know what? It's just constantly shocking to me is we have that need. And I see it over and over. People who are contributing, they could be 90 years old or they can be 4 years old. Given that opportunity to express yourself it's like half the battle. And I think maybe I mentioned this to you before, but my younger brother called me after he got his jar and he said, "Did Dad write 5 messages?" And, our dad's like a cowboy. He's like the strong silent type. He doesn't express himself often. But given that chance to sit down, think obviously he loves all of us. But there's just never that opportunity to sit down and think about and express exactly what it is. So, yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it is so much easier to really tell someone how much they mean to you or how much you love them or, talk about a memory about them in such a way that it's so much easier to express it when you're writing it down and then sending it to them versus face to face, right? Because face to face, then, we might be fearful of, our emotions or, sometimes when you're really talking, about some deep emotions, you could start crying and getting emotional and then people shut it off, right? They don't want to go there. So when you're in the privacy of your own home and you're able to write something about someone, you can really go there. You can go to the truth and you can be open and raw and honest and truly tell them how much they mean to you without feeling you can cry in the privacy of your own home and you don't care.
Absolutely. And you know what is another interesting thing? I think a lot of times it makes the other person so uncomfortable like if I were just to sit here and tell you like how amazing I think you are, you might feel a little uncomfortable. But if you were just sitting there, you would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know she thought that. Yeah. So it gives that person who's receiving all those messages, like the privacy to process that as well,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more because so many times, I mean, even with my kids, like, I'm constantly telling my kids, sort of affirmations that I want them to say to themselves and how wonderful I think they are. And like, I'm always trying to feed them with the good, so that they can, it can become ingrained in them. And you can tell, like, even with my kids, when I'm trying to tell them some wonderful things about themselves, and they're like, oh, mom, and it's like, no, it's okay to recognize your gifts, and it's okay, to hear nice things about yourself. But as human beings, our first inclination is just to kind of be like, oh, stop, or that's not true, right? Or to kind of get embarrassed or put that shield up. When you get a little love jar, you can't worry about that because you're literally able to just enjoy it in the privacy of your own home. It's amazing.
Oh, totally. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. It's such a way for love and connection and to like just fuel your spirit with such joy. It's awesome. And I also think it's an expression of, and it just goes back to the fact that how powerful words are, right? The words that we use and how powerful they are. And yes, they're powerful when you say them, but when the written word and when someone can actually look at it, it's that much more meaningful.
Totally. It's undeniable. I had a woman email me saying after she went through her jar, she had to, how did she put it? She said, I had to come up with a new self-image. She realized that what she was saying and thinking about herself was so much different than how she appeared to other people. And she said, reading all those messages, it's undeniable how loved I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a shift, right? Talk about a shift in perspective and a shift in mindset. That is awesome.
Right. And you know what? We all need that from time to time. I mean, we have our good days, but like you were talking about, those days when we are full of doubt and questioning ourselves. And, this whole past year, which has just been, I feel like, taken so many of us to our limit. Sometimes we just need reminders.
Yeah. And not only has it taken us to our limit, but it has really created disconnect, right? I mean, we're not able to see each other as much. We're not able to spend time. I mean, wow. Talk about needing connection more than ever. Here we are. For sure. Okay. So I love hearing the stories about, people's reaction to the jars or even, different ways that people can give them, like, a 10-year-old. Like, I don't know. I think some people might think, oh, how is it really going to impact a 10-year-old? But that story that you shared was really amazing. And of course, I think anyone who is going through a tough time in their life, especially like an illness, what a wonderful time to give it. Any other examples of times that people decided to gift the little love jar that was really cool?
Yeah, there have been some really cool reasons. We've done some for the unborn baby.
That's cool. Yeah.
So the entire jar was for the child. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful.
And probably my favorite experience was actually going into the school when my son was in 3rd grade. It was their career week. And so I went in and I kind of flipped it and I talked to the kids about what their jobs are, because starting now and for the rest of their lives, they have a very important job. And it's a lot of the things that are never really talked about being a good friend, about paying attention, about the connection. And so we talked a lot about all of that. And then I left them with paper for each of them to write a positive comment about every single person in their class. And so I collected them, at the end of the week, made each of the children a little love jar of their own, and then went back the following week and delivered it to the classroom. And we also, one of our mottos is take care of each other. So I also printed out the take care of each other sign for each of the kids. So the response was amazing. I got an email from the teacher with the feedback from the kids, and one of the little boys said, it felt like people actually cared about me.
Oh my God.
And another kid said, I didn't know people thought I was good at all those things.
I'm like tearing up because that is really special, right? I mean, think about the impact that has on anyone, but especially like a young child to say like, wow, I didn't know that people cared about me. I mean, it's just really incredible Talk about spreading love and joy. And that is just,
it's so important. And I feel like if we can get into the schools and get them young, and then also in corporations, another great experience I had was a small local business of 20 employees hired us to come to an offsite team building event they had. And so they had every one of their employees do a similar thing where they all wrote something nice for everyone in the company. And each of the employees was given a little love jar of their own. And we took time for them all to go through their jar. And then the exercise was for each person to either share a couple of notes or say what they learned about themselves through their jar. And people were crying. And, especially in the court, when you don't express that a lot, with your coworkers, people were very surprised at how they were seen by others. So that was a really, really cool experience.
Oh my gosh. It sounds just absolutely amazing. It really does. And I know what, from our conversations in the past, it's super cool. I know you've been featured in a lot of news and articles. And I know you did a jar for, who I think is an amazing person and is quite famous in my mind, but Maria Forleo.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
That was a huge highlight. I love that so much.
Yes. Well, I think many, many people will be getting little love jars, and I have no doubt that it's going to become a household name someday, because you are just spreading so much love and so much joy to people that are, that receive them. And I know when I found out about it, I was like, what is that? And then you look at it and it's just such a simple expression of love that sounds, so easy, but is so impactful and means so much to people that it's literally changing lives. So congratulations on such a meaningful, service-filled business that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And I appreciate so much sharing space with people, like-minded people who, when I was reading your mission, it's purpose, passion, joy, so similar. And I think the more we can collaborate, and especially supporting, other women in business, it's amazing. So Thank you for what you're doing and highlighting women and the storytelling. I just love all of it. I mean, there's so many parallels,
There's so many parallels, and I just love doing it because everybody has such an amazing story, and it's so fun to share them. And I know that my listeners are enjoying hearing about each other because, we all can find that inspiration and connection within each other's stories. And I just love that about all of us. We're all suburban warriors, girl.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, so we can find you. Your website is Little Love Jar, right?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
So just littlelovejar.com. And Corrin, is your Instagram, right?
It's more confused. It's little.love.jar.
Okay, perfect. So, all right. Well, we will link the website and link your Instagram in the bio. So you guys can easily find Corrin and also find out more about Little Love Jar. You should definitely check out her website. It is just filled with such wonderful, fulfilling messages and explains in more detail how you can purchase a Little Love Jar and the impact that it can have on someone that you love. So thank you so much for being here with us, Corrin. I loved talking to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You got it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Suburban Warrior. We will be back next week, and we would love to hear your comments. So please feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Thanks so much. Have an awesome week.